Okay. Yeah. So, I'm back, y'all. Look, I got it pinned to the top of the chat. Y'all go ahead and hit the Cash App if y'all want to support the page. If y'all want to support me, hit the tip jar. I thank everybody that hit the tip jar on the last live, and we partied. We had some things. Now, we're going to talk about what brought a lot of us here, and that's this Kells, okay? So, for the one person that disliked this commentary, and I ain't even get started yet, hey, I thank you for giving me your view. But you know, that's what you can go do, for real. I'm looking at something. Hold on. Hold on, wait a minute. Willie Beeman said what? Oh, horrible actor. That's cool. That's cool. I'm not going to go back and forth with you, though. But you can come get this commentary. And you can come get the truth. So, I'm going to just start it off with this. Because I see the dummies in here. Let's go.
You should know me, but she don't
I'm glad I seen that. Now, I'm playing a song called Love Street, right? And I'm seeing people giving thumbs down. I haven't said a word. But they're giving thumbs down to R. Kelly. But ain't that what you're supposed to be advocating for? Ain't that what you're supposed to be here for? You're not here for me. I went all day, ain't talk about nobody. I ain't say nothing about nobody. I'm doing this to prove a point. And the point that I'm proving is that no matter how people feel, whether I have 95,000 dislikes, you giving me views. Thank you. Whether dislikes or likes, you bringing traffic my way. Thank you. I thank you. So at the end of the day, give me all the thumbs down you want. But can't nobody break it down and deliver it like moi. So, as we know, Bill Cosby got out, and y'all see the outrage that's going on. With now, you know what? Hold on, wait. Before I even get that started, I'm gonna say this. Shout out Dream Team. Shout out everybody that's here. Shout out Oko. Shout out friends. Whoever's here. Shout out everybody. Right? And I'm gonna say this because it's eating me up. Everybody talk about Dana did this, Dana did that. But when Dana minding his business, it's still people that want to come and bother Dana. Now, I don't go on nobody chat. I don't go on nobody else anything. I look, I see it, I laugh, I clown, and I keep it going. So, where's all the selective outrage at when people coming at Dana? I don't see the same people that's lying. I'm oh, Dana did this, Dana did that. No. Let's talk about selective outrage. So I don't want to hear nobody else saying Dana did this, Dana did that, because I'm not entertaining the dummies. Y'all believe what y'all want to believe. If anybody want to know why I'm not going to respond only when I want to respond, plain and simple as this: I have exposed them enough for y'all to see the truth. Now, if y'all too blind to see the truth, that's y'all. At the end of the day, it's about this guy right here. And I believe he coming home very soon. Sooner than what you think. And when he come home, trust me, all of this is going to be cleared up. Everything. I can't wait. I can't wait. Trust me, I can't wait. Because when he come home, we going to see who's what. We gonna see who's this. We gonna see who's that. But what I have been doing, I've been cleaning out my summer closet. I've been, people who rock with people who don't like me. I just chose to disconnect myself. I don't talk to them on the phone. I don't call them no more. I wish them nothing but the best. I wish they go ahead about their business and I go ahead about mine. And that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? I have shown enough, provided enough. Now, I'm just waiting for the grand finales to come out. Because there's some stuff that's under seal. I got a call about some stuff today, and the only thing I'm going to say is my lips are sealed. I ain't saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing. Only thing I know is my work didn't go in vain. And like I said, Robert is coming home quicker than most think. So, it's been said that he had a court date on the 30th, right? Now, somebody asked me, did his court date get postponed to the 9th? I'm going to say this on record. And on record, I'm going to say I do not know. But what I will say is as I look up right now, I will find out for you exactly what has happened. Because when I went to go grab these documents, it didn't even bother me to even look. I'm gonna be honest with you. It didn't bother me to look because I was so excited about documents that I grabbed early on today. I wasn't gonna say nothing until after the verses simply because why get people excited and then go to a verses and then people wouldn't be engaged with the verses because they wanted to hear what's going on. So on 6/30/2021, hold on, 6/24/2021, letter under seal supplementing the government's June 14, 2021 motion for curatorial hearing as to Robert Cesar Kelly, and they got the attachments in there. And 6/25/2021 order as to Robert Cesar Kelly, the curatorial hearing set for June the 30th, 2021 is adjourned and will be rescheduled at a later date, ordered by Judge Ann M. Donnelly on 6/25/2021. Then the next order, 6/30, is the order following its review of the party submissions. The court has modified the written jury questionnaire. This version of the questionnaire is adopted by the court to be used for selection of a jury for the trial of this case. Okay, cool. It don't say nothing about the curatorial hearing. So 7-1 motion. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. All right. Got it. Well, I'm gonna say this. Things has been going on. People have been working behind the scenes. Fanny Pack, what's up, boo? How's baby girl? Things have been going on. People have been working behind the scenes. Things have been moving swiftly. I'm happy about what happened today. I'm happy about what was submitted. I'm gonna say y'all seen things play out. Things that you shouldn't have to see play out. So first things first, for the people who don't know. First things first. Let's go ahead. First things first. There we go. First things first. I pop a freak all the honeys. First things first, we're going to go to it. We don't got time to play around. And move this over a little bit so everybody can see it. United States of America versus Robert Cesar Kelly. Now, this is the first time I've seen this in proper form. This right here is enough for a mistrial. And what I'm talking about is you have the corporation, United States of America, versus the human being, Robert Cesar Kelly. But then they got slick and put at all, meaning any other persona that he goes by. So let's say notification of docket entry. This docket entry was made by the clerk on Friday, June the 25th, 2021. Minute entry before the Honorable Harry D. Lennonweather. Motion to withdraw Abigail Peluso as attorney from this case is granted. 170 mail notice. So Judge Lennonweather granted Abigail Peluso as attorney from this case. Well, I heard some people talk about, well, no, that's the lady that she have the long black hair, the white hair. Then I heard somebody say, no, you don't see her. She's in a federal. Well, if you've been to the federal case, she's the lady that was over the investigations. She's the lady that was over what you would call the 100 devices and stuff. She's the same lady, which is the Caucasian lady, or should I say Caucasian and Indian, with the long silky hair that was kind of dyed in between. No problem, Georgia girl. That was, that's kind of dyed in between. She's the lady that said that she don't think the government should turn over what they found on Robert because a lot of the stuff is there to help him and not hurt him. And she's also the one that didn't want to give up the 3500 material until 30 days before trial, and Judge Levenweber told her no. She's also the one that was, because she was working both federal and state, she's also the one that was coaching the state people about a DVD that didn't play for the defense team. So she's gone off the case. Now, here's a question. What will make a lady who's prosecuting a case, a high-profile case, to just up and say, I don't want to be on this no more? What will make somebody say that? Not unless a lot of stuff that they got is bullshit. And I said that to say this. If they had Rashona, and I keep telling everybody this, if they had Rashona to flip on Robert, this lady, which was the anchor in the prosecution in Chicago, wouldn't quit. She wouldn't want to get off the case, because this will propel her to other stratospheres. I don't know if y'all understand what I'm saying, but it's just like, how can I put this? It's just like, and I don't want to use me, but I'm gonna say this. It's just like you're a nobody, and you come on the YouTube streets, and then you want to go at DanaJay, and DanaJay go back, and then everybody pop up on your screen. Then all of your friends and everybody pop up for you. That's just what it's like. The check she got from Sony for those 100 devices bounced, allegedly. I don't know. I can't speak about something that I don't know. Y'all know I'm not the secretary, so I can't speak on something that I don't know. I don't know if she got a check. I don't know none of that. But let's take a good look. It's not making sense. Why would you quit? And like I was telling Lady L, I cannot pronounce that lady name for nothing. And I feel stupid that I can't pronounce her name. But just like I told Lady L, there's no way that you're going to try to come after a legend halfway and then everything that you're doing is falling. Everything that you're doing is falling. Make that make sense. Everything that you're doing is falling. So when you try to put a ditch for somebody, that ditch come back to you. So let's get out of that one. It's another one. Hold on. This is her withdrawal. And you see what I'm talking about? The United States of America is a corporation. Robert Spencer Kelly is a corporation. So it says, withdrawal of counsel. Please take notice that Assistant United States Attorney Abigail Peluso is no longer assigned to this case. Wow. Wow. And if you pay attention to our address, that means everything came to her. First, no, I'm lying. Let me backtrack that. First, everything went to Nancy, whatever the lady name, and McGill, whatever the lady name is, Nancy McGill, something like that. And then it went to Abigail, which means crazy. So, I will say this. We went through the stint, and I told y'all a while back that the team that was there wasn't working as a team. Greenberg would not approve Doug Thomas motions to put in for Robert. I find it funny that Greenberg is no longer allowed to put in any motions courtesy of Ann Donnelly, right? And the next thing you see is this right here. The next thing you see is this right here. Now, when I tell you that people was waiting to do what they want to do for Robert, right? People was waiting to do what they want to do for Robert. But Greenberg was the hindrance. So, let's get into it. We got 12 pages. And I can do what a lot of people scared to do. Look at this. I got 35 dislikes and I'm talking about Robert. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. 35 dislikes and we talking about Robert. And it's nobody but the go along, get along gang. And they all hating because they can't do what I'm about to do. And that's read. So let's get into it. Law Office of Thomas Farinella. You got his address. By ECF. The Honorable Ann M. Donnelly, United States District Judge, United States District Court, Eastern District of New York, 225 Camden Plaza, East Brooklyn, New York. Okay. United States versus Robert Kelly. Now, I love the way Thomas did this. He made the United States a first person, as well as Robert. Okay, let's go. Dear Judge Donnelly, we respectfully submit this letter as Robert S. Kelly's, Mr. Kelly, emergency motion for temporary release and or accommodations for preparation of his defense for his trial now scheduled to begin on August the 9th, 2021. Like I said, I know what's going on. And because I didn't say nothing, people sitting back like, oh, what's really going on? No, I'm not going to tell you. I told you. Things been going on and behind the scenes. So, here we go. Mr. Kelly made 3 prior applications for bond and appealed the district court's denial for temporary and release. Despite the Second Circuit's denial of Mr. Kelly's appeal, the court stated in their decision that we assume that adequate opportunity for consultation with counsel will be assured as a matter of trial administration by the judges who will preside over the 2 trials. This application is being filed to ensure that the second court's assumptions hold true, as well as to ensure that Mr. Kelly's constitutional right to counsel and constitutional right to a fair trial are adhered to in this case. Number 1, background. Since his arrival in on June 22nd, 2021, the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, Mr. Kelly has not been permitted to meet and confer with counsel in person and will not be able to do so until July the 6th, 2021. And after he tests negative for COVID-19, it is undisputed that he is illiterate, which makes in-person meetings essential so he can prepare for August the 9th, 2021 jury trial. Since December 2020, while at the MCC, Mr. Kelly was granted the opportunity to attend FaceTime calls with his attorneys. The calls were scheduled on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The FaceTime calls permitted a line of communication, but ultimately proved to not be very effective. The calls were constantly interrupted. A camera was placed both in front of Mr. Kelly and behind him, and Mr. Kelly's illiteracy created an impossible situation. A request was made to the MDC for an accommodation of Mr. Kelly's disability, to no avail. This court granted Mr. Kelly's request to view the discovery material in person. On August the 8th, 2019, a stipulation and protective order was entered regarding the discovery materials, ECF 132. In order for Mr. Kelly to be able to assist his counsel, the court allowed for one single copy to be given to Mr. Kelly along with a number of CDs. As of the date of this motion, after several requests by Mr. Kelly, the lead attorney at the time has not produced anything for Mr. Kelly's review. What did I tell y'all? Although Mr. Kelly has literacy issues, he indicated that he would rather struggle through it than not have it at all. Given the current, wait a minute, I'm gonna go back there because I think some of y'all need to see it. I told y'all from the jump. As of the date of this motion, after several requests by Mr. Kelly, the lead attorney at the time has not produced anything for Mr. Kelly's review. Greenberg has not produced anything for Mr. Kelly's review. Although Mr. Kelly has literacy issues, he indicated that he would rather struggle through it than not have it at all. Given the current circumstances that exist, Mr. Kelly and the Special Housing Unit, the SHU, the lack of meaningful communications with Mr. Kelly while he is in prison, and Mr. Kelly's inability to assist in his defense. The only assurance that Mr. Kelly will be prepared for his trial in August is if he is granted immediate pretrial release. The lack of ability to communicate with Mr. Kelly. Phone calls between inmates and their lawyers are an essential part of preparing an inmate for trial. Due to the fact that Mr. Kelly is in the SHU, access to him via phone has remained difficult and impractical when it comes to discussing certain legal strategies. In order to properly prepare for trial, there is little preparation that can be done when Mr. Kelly calls counsel from a shower and has to talk through a slit in the door. These barbaric conditions fundamentally prevent Mr. Kelly from being able to assist his counsel in his own defense. Meanwhile, every time Mr. Kelly speaks, everything he says is heard throughout the SHU due to the acoustics and echo heard reverberating throughout the SHU prison walls. Again, not an appropriate environment to strategize with Mr. Kelly for his trial. Immediately upon learning of Mr. Kelly's transfer, counsel reached out to the MDC and scheduled a call. On June 23rd, 2021, Mr. Kelly placed a legal call at 7:30 a.m. The conversation was brief. Time out. The court has appointed Curcio counsel. The court wants Curcio counsel to meet with Mr. Kelly face to face, and that will take place on or before July the 12th, 2021. Additionally, it appears that they are scheduling issues with other counsel. Okay. That they are scheduling issues with other counsel. Okay. The call was brief, and there was no legal substance discussed regarding Mr. Kelly's case due to the detention conditions that exist. At present, Mr. Kelly is forced to make phone calls from a shower in a desperate effort to obtain privacy, which is unacceptable. Clearly, A shower is not an appropriate place to have any meaningful conversations with one's lawyers. A few additional legal calls were placed, but unfortunately, they were met with the same difficulties. Mr. Kelly continues to inform counsel of the challenging conditions he is currently placed in, with equivocally thwart his ability to properly assist his counsel in his own defense. Frankly, to believe that Mr. Kelly is able to assist in his own defense under these circumstances is beyond preposterous. In an effort to continue to prepare for trial, counsel requested FaceTime or Zoom call be made available. Counsel was told that FaceTime and Zoom calls are not available for Mr. Kelly. Look at it. In an effort to continue to prepare for trial, counsel requested FaceTime or Zoom call be made available. Counsel was told that FaceTime and Zoom calls are not available for Mr. Kelly. Although FaceTime and Zoom calls don't necessarily remove the issues counsel is having and communicating with their client, it is better than nothing. Even this court seemed to acknowledge the difficulty of using a video conference to communicate with Mr. Kelly versus being in person. At the Kershaw hearing, the June 17 hearing, when addressing the fact that Mr. Kelly was present via video instead of in person, this court stated, but recognizing that I think it's very difficult for Mr. Kelly to have communications by video. This court went on to say, when referring to the importance of an independent attorney meeting face-to-face with Mr. Kelly, if he so chooses, I think it's an important enough subject that I want to make sure that Mr. Kelly has absolute clarity on what the issues are and what the potential conflicts may be. This supports the defense argument that it is close to impossible to legitimately prepare for a trial only having access to their client via phone and or video, especially when the client has literacy issues. Hold on. Okay. Pre-trial release of Mr. Kelly is appropriate due to COVID-19 restrictions at the MDC. Understandably, the COVID-19 pandemic has necessitated the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, to adhere to certain protocols to avoid transmission or spread of this deadly disease. The requirements imposed by the MDC/BOP regarding quarantine and visitation have undoubtedly created unforeseen delays and a heightened feeling of unrest when it comes to preparing for Mr. Kelly's trial. Understanding that certain COVID-19 quarantine restrictions are required to be followed by the MDC, such restrictions have impeded counsel's ability to have any meaningful conversations or face-to-face conversations with Mr. Kelly. Both are necessary in order to review the hundreds of thousands of pages of material which dates back for decades. Without the ability to sit down face-to-face for long extended periods of time and review strategy and the like, preparing for Mr. Kelly's trial is an impossible task. Per the MDC, Mr. Kelly must quarantine every time he leaves the MDC and returns. Since Mr. Kelly has been ordered to appear in person for the continuation of the Kershaw hearing date, there is a call scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, July the 2nd, which is tomorrow. Be determined. Mr. Kelly is presumed to have to quarantine after he goes to court. Again, leaving no direct access to Mr. Kelly or his counsel. Mr. Kelly is set to start trial in approximately 1 month. At the moment, he is awaiting the completion of a Kershaw hearing and a motion to withdraw by two, but I meant to say of, but I say or, by two of Mr. Kelly's defense counsel after being terminated by the client. And given the fact that the Kershaw hearing may not be completed until late July 2021. Coupled with the quarantine restrictions that continue to create impossible situations for counsel to engage, the client for purposes of his assistance in his own defense, a motion for pretrial release and or accommodations for Mr. Kelly is certainly right. This request is crucial to guarantee Mr. Kelly's constitutional rights are protected. In the event pretrial release is not possible, given the conditions in place and the time lost, the trial date proceeding on August the 9th, 2021 is at risk. Request for Mr. Kelly's temporary release under 18 U.S.C. 3142I. The right to access counsel and assist in Mr. Kelly's defense. This court has the authority to grant Mr. Kelly's temporary relief pursuant 18 U.S.C. 3142I. The language of 18 U.S.C. 3142I that the court may permit the detainee's temporary release to the extent that the judicial officer determines such release to be necessary, underscores the discretionary nature of relief under the subsection. The statute goes on to say the judicial officer may be may by subsequent order permit the temporary release of the person in the custody of the United States Marshal or another appropriate person, to the extent that the judicial officer determines such release to be necessary for preparation of the person's defense or for another compelling reason. United States versus Chandler. That's a case law. If y'all want to look it up, it's United States versus Chandler, 2020, United States District, Lexus. That's the LexisNexis lookup. Okay. Further, the court held the right to consult with legal counsel about being released on bond, entering a plea, negotiating, and accepting a plea agreement, going to trial, testifying at trial, locating trial witnesses, and other decisions confronting the detained suspect, whose innocence is presumed, is a right inextricably linked to the legitimacy of our criminal justice system. United States versus Chandler again. That's another case law. Okay. And that case law is, in our society, liberty is the norm, and detention prior to trial or without trial is the carefully limited exception. These seemingly simple thoughts, that an individual is presumed innocent, that an individual should not be incarcerated until he has his day in court, and that no matter how damning the allegations against the defendant appear, he is entitled to a fair fight with adequate preparation, should be considered by this court in determining the release of Mr. Kelly from prison prior to his scheduled jury trial date. Hold on, let me send this text message real quick. Let me send this text message. Hold on. Okay. Failure to release Mr. Kelly will inevitably lead to a reduction of his constitutionally mandated right to access counsel and to assist in his defense during what the Supreme Court has found to be the most critical period of a case proceeding, the time between arraignment and the beginning of trial. Powell versus State of Alabama, 287 U.S. 45 and 57, 1932. The Bail Reform Act included a provision that would allow a judicial officer to permit the temporary release of a detainee if the judicial officer determines the release to be necessary for preparation of the person's defense or for another compelling reason. 18 U.S.C.A. 1342I. Several federal courts have discussed the burden incarceration has on a defendant's ability to assist in their defense. The court in U.S. versus Vida reasoned that a defendant released on bail is available 24 hours a day to assist in their trial preparation, track down evidentiary leads, and provide key factual details in drafting motions and negotiations. U.S. versus Vida. Okay, not to mention the defendant may be the only person that is able to identify, explain, and help his attorneys to understand the evidence and his defense ID. The court in Vida went on to note that the quality of the detainee's legal defense is likely to diminish dramatically the longer he or she is incarcerated. Vida 653F supplemental at 337. Temporary release with stringent conditions is not uncommon, which is demonstrated in U.S. versus Avenatti. Here we go. Somebody pointing out the Michael Avenatti case. So let's go. See, this is the stuff that Greenberg didn't do. This is the stuff that Greenberg wouldn't let them do. You know what I'm saying? So also when people say this lawyer is not on the case no more, just sit back and just say, okay, let them talk. Because a lot of these people don't know what they're talking about. Anytime you see me get quiet, you know there's something going on. Because you know I got a hard time being quiet. I want to talk. But when I get quiet, you know there's something going on. So let's go here. Temporary release with stringent conditions is not uncommon, which is demonstrated in U.S. versus Michael Avenatti, where the district court determined conditions for release of a defendant who was detained because he violated the conditions of bail that were set at his arraignment. Now, wait. I'm glad they pointed out, because Michael Avenatti violated his conditions and he is still on house arrest. But Robert haven't even violated anything ever and he's locked up. Make that make sense. I'm glad that Tom is putting them back on point. After he was subsequently found guilty of multiple felonies. Additionally, the court released the defendant so he could meet with his counsel and prepare for the two impending trials, and doing so under the current conditions, would have made that impossible. The court clearly stated this order does not withdraw, is not in derogation of, and does not conflict with the court's prior finding and the Ninth Circuit's affirmance of this court's finding, that there is probably cause to believe that defendant committed state and federal crimes while on pretrial release. The defendant is a danger to the community, and that defendant failed to rebut the presumption that no conditions or combination of conditions will assure the safety of the community. See United States versus Avenatti. CA number 20-50017, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, March 6, 2020. The request. Okay. Now right here say the following conditions were included. Inter alia, defendant shall participate in the location monitoring program and abide by all requirements of the program under the direction of pretrial services, which shall include a location monitoring bracelet. Defendant must pay all of the costs of the location monitoring program based upon his ability to pay as determined by pretrial services, and will be financially responsible for any lost or damaged equipment. B. Defendant shall not possess, use, or access any digital devices that offer or allow internet access. Defendant may, however, possess and use a non-internet connected telephone approved by pretrial services to communicate with his attorneys, family, friends, and for other basic living needs during the 90-day term of his temporary release. C. Although defendant may not possess, use, or access any internet-enabled digital devices, the order does not preclude defendant's legal counsel from emailing legal documents to defendant's third-party custodian, J. Minimer, so that the defendants so that the defendants for release is the only option left that would ensure Mr. Kelly would be ready for trial. Unlike Avenatti, Mr. Kelly has not been found guilty of multiple felonies, which sentence could carry a significant amount of time, but like Mr. Kelly has multiple cases that contain an enormous number of documents, which requires hours of in-person consultation. Avenatti, a lawyer, has experience in litigation, and even with meeting with his lawyers, has complained about the difficulty of preparing for trial while detained. Turning to Mr. Kelly, significant time has been lost because of his transfer. He has significant learning disabilities, and given the complex nature of the case, needs to review and discuss the discovery with his counsel, which cannot be met now or even after his quarantine ends. Hold on, let me see what's going on. I got a text message. Hold on, let's see. Can y'all please hold off on sending me stuff, please? Okay. That's fine. Although prior to this motion, Mr. Kelly has been denied pretrial release on at least 3 occasions due to the fact that counsel at the time failed to show this court compelling reasons for pretrial release. This motion is riddled with compelling reasons. Given the current circumstances, the court has consistently found that no condition or combination of combinations will reasonably assure Mr. Kelly's appearance as required and the safety of any other person and the community. 18 U.S.C. 3142E, ECF number 68. Since the last bond argument on May 15, 2020, there have been a number of significant changes in Mr. Kelly's circumstances. The government primarily objected to pretrial release and their responses to the defense's previous motions for bond, stating that Mr. Kelly is a flight risk and a risk to the public and risk to the public safety. The case of United States versus Thornton suggests that a district court can temporarily release a detainee pursuant to 3142I number 4, even after a prior order holding that the detainee was a flight risk or a risk to the public safety. Additionally, the court in United States versus Stevens, number 15 CR 0095, 2020, that's a case law, held that 18 U.S.C. 3142 I-4 constitutes a separate statutory ground for post-conviction release, and that defendants' inability to communicate regularly and effectively with counsel in light of the BOP's visitation policies satisfied requirements for release under 3142I. I'm going to stop there for a second. If y'all don't know what's going on, I'm going to help y'all. No, I'm going to read this last part, then I'm going to give y'all my thoughts. Third-party custodian can print them for defendant to review. Defendant may also access and use an internet-enabled digital device. Okay, I read all that. Okay, that's the Avenatti thing. Now, what Tom is doing in this motion is what Greenberg should have did a while ago. He's boxing the government in to the point where the government have to say, okay, how can he be a danger to the community if we have a certain location where he will be at and he will be monitored? This is what you have. This is the type of motion that you get when you have all lawyers coming together and working as one, instead of a lawyer trying to do Chief J Strongbow and try to do for the camera and for their own likes and everything. You have all the lawyers that came together as one, and they all came and put everything together as one, and this is what you get. And you don't get 34 pages, you get 12 pages of facts. And this is what a lot of people can't handle. And this definitely what the government can't handle. You get 12 pages of facts. Now, with this being compiled like this, so far, y'all don't see nobody saying that he want to go and be with his 2 girlfriends, do you? You don't see that. You don't see when the judge say prove that he's not a flight risk, they saying, oh, well, we can't talk about that because we can't prove that. You're a lie. You can prove he a flight risk. He's scared to fly, first thing. Second thing is he don't have a passport. Third thing is this right here. With his celebrity status, even if he try to cover his face, as you know, as people try to say that he got a mask so that way he can hide and run out the country, well, that was a lie. But even if that's the case, his walk is distinct. His hands is distinct. His structure is distinct. Why? Because he's fearfully and wonderfully made in the eyes of God. So therefore, since God made Robert Kelly specifically for Robert Kelly, anybody knows the way he talk. Everybody knows the way he walk. Everybody knows his statue. And everybody know who he is. So what is that saying? Robert Kelly can't be a flight risk. And I'm going to tell you how. Once again, where is he going to go? When a person is scared to fly, and no matter what type of disguises you got on, when that plane get ready to take off, anxiety comes forward. And if nobody else can peep it, the flight attendants are peeping. And they say, oh, whoa. And they got to report it. Hey, we got R. Kelly on the plane. Wait a minute. Why you got R. Kelly on the plane and he's on house arrest? Land his plane there and they will have marshals waiting for him. So don't give me he's a flight risk. He's a danger to the community. Oh, okay. Since 2008 until 2019, have you heard him being a danger to anybody's community? No. But you have a police officer who terrorized the community with his friends and killed somebody in broad daylight and terrorizes the community, and he was given house arrest with permission to travel to the Bahamas with his wife. I mean, somebody make that make sense. So let's finish, because I can go on and I can give you examples all day. These rulings speak directly to the case at bar due to the fact that Mr. Kelly needs to prepare his defense for his upcoming EDNY case. That present the present. Hold on, y'all. I don't know why. I'm about to put my phone on silent. Promise you, yeah. Okay. The present jury trial date was planned without knowing that a crucial hearing was going to take place and not be completed until a few weeks or days before Mr. Kelly's jury trial is scheduled to begin. That's the setup. Inter alia. Given the numerous hindrances that have occurred in counsel having access to their client, it is nearly impossible to expect the defense to be prepared while Mr. Kelly remains in custody. Moreover, attorney-client communication is an essential component of the meaningful access to courts guaranteed under the Constitution. See Drea R. versus Sealiff, 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, 1980. Internal citations omitted. And Glisson versus Sagamon City Sheriff's Department. Whoa. 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, 2000. Okay. Hospitalized pretrial detainee with AIDS stated claim for violation of his constitutional right of access to the courts because of hospital detention policies that prevented him from attending court, filing motions including to reduce his bond and meeting with counsel. Court found that the opportunity to communicate privately with an attorney is an important part of that meaningful access to courts under the 14th Amendment. If a lawyer is unable to go to the jail because of the virus, e.g., is under mandatory quarantine because she or someone she is close to is exhibiting symptoms associated with the virus or has been exposed to someone who has tested positive, he can only communicate with his client by phone. The question is whether there are any conditions that would permit release. Here, conditions can easily be fashioned to ensure Mr. Kelly's return, pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 3142I. The defendant is prepared to execute a bond co-signed by a financially responsible person. Be placed under 24-hour home confinement, to be enforced by location monitoring technology, to be determined by pretrial services. Mr. Kelly will only leave the residence for necessary medical services. All other leave from the residence will be submitted through defense counsel for the court's approval. Number 3, Mr. Kelly will not be released from MDC until all conditions are met, including the availability of location monitoring equipment. 4, a review by this court not to exceed 15 days, at which time the need for continued release under the compelling reason that release was ordered can be revisited by the court. Number 5, home visits are scheduled by pretrial releases by pretrial services. Mr. Kelly will comply with pretrial services requests to remove all cohabitants of the residence prior to the visit. Wow. 4, see a full list of the Avenatti conditions at footnote 3. In sum, Mr. Kelly is being denied his Sixth Amendment right to access to counsel. There is no iron curtain drawn between the Constitution and the prisons of this country. Wolf versus McDonald. A court should not unjustifiably obstruct the availability of professional representation or other aspects of the right of access to the courts, i.d. Therefore, restrictions imposed by the district court should not dwarf Mr. Kelly's Sixth Amendment right to have access to his counsel and to be able to prepare for his trial. Mr. Kelly maintains his innocence. He moves for temporary pretrial release under 18 U.S.C. 3142I, which permits a court to order the temporary release of a detainee when necessary for preparation of the person's defense or for another compelling reason. The defense would be remiss if counsel failed to address an obvious stumbling block in Mr. Kelly's ability to assist counsel in his own defense. It is undisputed that Mr. Kelly cannot read or write. Therefore, unlike most defendants, he cannot spend hours reading and reviewing the documents that are relevant to his case. He cannot make notes about those documents in order to share those thoughts at a later time with his counsel. He cannot meaningfully communicate in writing with his lawyers. He cannot refer to a dictionary, internet, to look up legalese. There go that word again. He cannot effectively use the law library in prison, and he cannot meet face-to-face with his lawyers who can answer, explain, and obtain his feedback about the discovery materials. On February the 4th, 2021, this court ordered that Mr. Kelly the ability to possess in a jail facility compact disc and a single paper copy of the protected 3500 material, and may review such material outside the presence of defense counsel or staff assisting such counsel. ECF number 90 at 1-2. As a result of that order, Mr. Kelly requested of lead counsel numerous times to furnish him with his copy of the Discovery 3500 material. The request fell on deaf ears. Not only did Mr. Kelly not receive a single paper copy, wait a minute, let's back that up. Remix! As a result of that order, Mr. Kelly requested of lead counsel, Mr. Greenberg, numerous times to furnish him with his copy of the Discovery 3500 material. The request fell on deaf ears. Not only did Mr. Kelly not receive a single paper copy from Mr. Greenberg, of which he could have tried to struggle through and has a right to have, Mr. Kelly never received the compact disc either. Mr. Kelly has not received a single piece of paper that is part of his discovery. All of his legal notes and paperwork are still at the MCC. He was not permitted to travel with anything. Wow. Mr. Kelly has essentially been cut out of the discovery and trial preparation process. Moreover, because of the pandemic, I say pandemic, but pandemic, and the visiting hours for attorneys at the MDC, his overall communications with counsel and assisting in his own defense have been cut out. Now, both Mr. Kelly and counsel await what has amounted to sporadic and unpredictable times for a phone call. Given these types of limitations, it would be impractical to believe that Mr. Kelly will be able to assist counsel in fighting for his life. This is particularly troublesome, as the means of those limited communications do not even possess the safeguard of confidentiality that are necessary to engage in meaningful attorney-client conversation. As stated above, when counsel had FaceTime visits with Mr. Kelly at the MCC, a camera was placed in clear view both behind and in front of Mr. Kelly as he spoke to counsel. This has caused all sorts of lack of confidence when it comes to attorney-client confidentiality. It was as though the attorney-client relationship had been completely ignored. It is just another stumbling block in the pursuit of justice for Mr. Kelly that cannot be untold. Alright, I'm on page 9 right now. We're going to take a break real quick. A little short break. And then we're going to come back. And we're going to talk about some things, okay? And we're going to finish this off. Alright, let's go.
MP on the track. But somehow we got off track, and we never really got it back on. Yeah, I think we better find your way, and get right back to the memories of the day, and make it to heaven's way. When we need to escalate, I need traction. I need direction. Just see come running, trying to be home. Oh, take me to the crossroads. Yeah, life is gonna skip on me. Yeah, we're all over this century. I'll tell you something wrong. Tell me why I get me all just getting wrong. Just do it out. So try to get it. Nothing's a problem. You should always know shit on my side.
All right. I told you I was a short one. All right. Let's get back to it. There is no denying that this is an extraordinary time, and that the issues that ordinarily affect bail determination have to be viewed differently and more liberally. At this is the time, if ever there was a time, where pretrial release should be granted. What happened? Oh, my fault. Should be granted based on the litany of compelling reasons presented to this court by the defense. Now is the time. B. The COVID-19 requirement. The COVID-19 required restrictions at the MDC thwart both Mr. Kelly and counsel from preparing for an August jury trial date. Not only is Mr. Kelly's constitutional right to assist his counsel in his defense being violated, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, the required preventative measures for avoidance of the contraction or spread of the disease per the BOP creates additional hurdles and setbacks when it comes to counsel's ability to prepare for a trial that is slated to begin in approximately 1 month. My fault. The COVID-19 virus is a potential life-threatening disease that inmates continue to need to be protected from contracting or spreading. As of June 25th, 2021, BOP had 54 federal inmates and 135 BOP staff who have confirmed positive test results for COVID-19 nationwide. There have been 240 federal inmate deaths and 4 BOP staff member deaths attributed to COVID-19 disease. Although the number of BOP inmates contracting the disease has certainly lessened since the height of the pandemic, per the BOP, 4,433 inmates and 6,878 staff contracted the deadly disease. Safeguards to prevent the spread of COVID-19, which are to be adhered to meticulously, are still very much in place at the MDC. As of January 22nd, 2021, the CDC recommended the combination of getting vaccinated and following other CDC recommendations for protection that offers the best protection from COVID-19 at the present time. The CDC stresses the importance of wearing masks and cloth coverings to help reduce the chances of being exposed to the virus or spreading it to others. The CDC also explains the importance of social distancing within the BOP in order to stop the spread of infection. Per the federal BOP, inmates with no prior history of COVID-19, Mr. Kelly, should be tested prior to a transfer and, if negative, placed in release transfer quarantine. On June 22nd, 2021, it was presumed this step was taken by the Metropolitan Correctional Center, the MCC, prison in Chicago, Illinois, but it was revealed that Mr. Kelly was not tested prior to the transfer to the MDC in Brooklyn, New York. Next, the BOP requires that person, Mr. Kelly, to be housed separately from inmates in exposure or intake in quarantine. Once Mr. Kelly arrived at the MDC, he was immediately placed in the SHU, a tiny cell usually about 6 feet by 9 feet in size. Another inmate was placed in that same cell with Mr. Kelly. The inmate entered Mr. Kelly's cell without wearing a mask. That inmate has never worn a mask while at the MDC. MDC does not require masks worn in the cell. These facts are very concerning given the importance the BOP and the CDC have placed on wearing masks and social distancing. Mr. Kelly's cell, which is barely big enough for one inmate, has 2 inmates bunking together who did not get transferred to the MDC together, who are not able to social distance within their cell and are not required to wear masks. It is well known that the stark reality of placing an inmate in the SHU causes a slew of mental health issues, including but not limited to hallucinations, anxiety, panic attacks, memory deficiencies, concentration issues, paranoia, and impulse control. Based on Mr. Kelly's placement in the SHU, he is experiencing a number of these mental health issues. It does not help that Mr. Kelly was erroneously placed in the SHU for 70 plus days when he was first incarcerated at the MCC, and still has nightmares to this day about his experiences in the SHU. Inmates placed in the SHU, whether for punishment or protection, are subjected to virtually the same conditions as those confined in the SHU due to disciplinary infractions. The mental anguish alone that Mr. Kelly is experiencing from being placed in the SHU again thwarts counsel ability to involve Mr. Kelly in assisting in his own defense. Mr. Kelly's mental state plays a large role in his ability to assist his counsel in his defense. The appropriate mind frame necessary at the crucial time in his case to assist counsel in his defense cannot be accomplished given Mr. Kelly's current situation at the MDC. Even social distancing cannot take place in his cell, which simply heightens the risk of Mr. Kelly contracting a disease. This is just another insurmountable hurdle that Mr. Kelly faces if he remains in the MDC. During other bond hearings, several of the CDC guidelines were cited for reasoning for why Mr. Kelly did not deserve a bond, nor to be released under any circumstances. Since the previous bond motions, the CDC has broadened their guidelines when it comes to who is the most vulnerable to contracting COVID-19. In June 2021, the CDC indicated that adults of any age with certain medical conditions can be more likely to get severely ill from COVID-19. This eliminates the prior representations by the MCC that the group of people who were previously categorized as most at risk for contracting COVID-19 and getting severely ill from it were older adults, approximately 65 years old and up. Now, under the current CDC guidelines, Mr. Kelly, at the age of 54, with certain medical conditions contracted since he has been in prison, would be more likely to get severely ill from COVID-19 than perhaps a man of similar age and stature without the same medical conditions that Mr. Kelly continues to suffer from. The CDC broadened their list of potential medical conditions that could make a person more likely to get severely ill and or cause death from contracting COVID-19. Included in that list of potential medical conditions that increase the risk of getting COVID-19 is diabetes and chronic lung disease, including chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. I never heard of that before. Wow. While incarcerated, Mr. Kelly was diagnosed with both type 2 diabetes and tuberculosis, TB, a disease that causes bacteria to attack the lungs. While incarcerated, Mr. Kelly was diagnosed with both type 2 diabetes and tuberculosis, a disease that causes bacteria to attack the lungs. Unfortunately, Mr. Kelly, his type 2 diabetes was never treated properly at the MCC. Months would go by without a nurse performing a blood sugar reading. Per proper health standards, with type 2 diabetes, a person should take a blood sugar reading at least once a day. Due to Mr. Kelly's new diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, Mr. Kelly was told by the doctor at the MCC that he should start eating healthier. On July the 10th, 2020, the doctor from the MCC ordered that Mr. Kelly was to receive what's known as a heart and healthy diet meal. Mr. Kelly never received one. Heart and healthy diet meal. Past history of tuberculosis is an important risk factor of COVID. And tuberculosis is also common in COVID patients. Development of chronic airflow obstruction may be related to common risk factors or tuberculosis associated lung damages. At the MCC, Mr. Kelly was given a proper round of medication to combat his tuberculosis. But Mr. Kelly remains vigilant and wanting to understand and be informed about his tuberculosis diagnosis, because although the TB germs become inactive, they remain alive in the body and can become active later. Even if there is a question about whether Mr. Kelly's diagnosis would lead him to be high risk or not, the trial courts have generally not required that the detainee actually be classified as high risk as a prerequisite for granting release from detention under 3142I. The question is whether release is necessary for the preparation of the person's defense or for another compelling reason. Accordingly, this court does not even need to reach the issue of how the COVID-19 pandemic is personally affecting Mr. Kelly's health in order to determine that release from custody is appropriate. Notably, while incarcerated at the MCC, Mr. Kelly begged counsel for an outside evaluation for both his mental and physical state. From his days in the SHU, and since he contracted two very serious diseases, hold on, let me read that. I'm sorry. In January of 2021, wait a minute. I got to get back. Notably, while incarcerated at the MCC, Mr. Kelly begged counsel for an outside evaluation for both his mental and physical state from his days in the SHU. And since he contracted two very serious diseases, in January of 2021, both Mr. Leonard and Mr. Greenberg promised Mr. Kelly that they would have those services provided for him, with the understanding at the time that they would have to be via FaceTime. Mr. Leonard specifically took on the role of committing to making those visits happen for Mr. Kelly. After several reminders to Mr. Leonard by both Mr. Kelly and co-counsel, unfortunately for Mr. Kelly's well-being, neither Mr. Leonard nor the lead attorney, Mr. Greenberg, followed through with the client's important requests, which left Mr. Kelly in the dark about both his mental and physical state. The extraordinary burdens imposed by the coronavirus pandemic restrictions, in conjunction with Mr. Kelly's right to assist in preparing for his own defense, certainly constitute compelling reasons that will permit this court to order the temporary release of Mr. Kelly pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 3142I. The obstacles the current public health crisis poses to the preparation of the defendant's defense constitute a compelling reason alone under 18 U.S.C. 3142I. The circumstances as they exist now will continue to exist into the foreseeable future. The climate of the case as it stands now makes it impossible for not only Mr. Kelly to assist in his defense, but for the attorneys to appropriately prepare for his very quickly approaching jury trial. Mr. Kelly has received no assistance, given the fact that he is illiterate and has difficulty reading and writing. Conclusion: for the foregoing reasons, Mr. Kelly respectfully submits that he should be released to prepare his defense for the impending trial, now scheduled to begin on August the 9th, 2021. Respectfully submitted, Thomas A. Farinella Nicole Blank Becker, counsel for Robert Sylvester Kelly. So now that we got that out the way, whew, that was a lot. Now that we got that out the way, now we understand, as I told y'all once before, everything that I've been saying, you're now seeing it play out in front of you. People said I ain't know what I was talking about. I said Greenberg is not producing what he said he was producing. So I said it without. I said it. I'm trying to see what Sidbo said. Hold on. Sidbo said tuberculosis runs command in prison. If not treated with I and H treatment for 6 months, he's most definitely in health risk. Shaking my head. Wow. Wow. So basically, Sidbo, question: can he die from that? Because I don't know, so I'm gonna ask. And I know your background, so you can answer that. Will he die from that? A tuberculosis thing? Exactly, bro. Sid. Ashley said, "Hey, Sid." Georgia girl said, "Like, brothers, like, share, and subscribe." Big Vi said, "This case, I bill case, is damn near neck and neck." Ah, Big Vi, I'm about to go there. Because the same things that they are requesting Robert to do, they was requesting Bill to do. And the selective outrage that's going on in the Bill Cosby case is sickening. But back to Robert Sylvester Kelly. Sidbo, Ms. Lady T said yes. Sidbo said yes from a PE. What is a PE? What is that? I said tuberculosis is serious and deadly if not treated properly. I never knew that. See, I'm learning something right now. Sidbo said blood clots into his lungs. So PE is blood clots to the lungs. Wow. That's crazy. I never knew that. So now that everything that I've been telling y'all for the longest, and people like, oh, don't listen to him, he's a liar, he don't do this in it. Y'all seeing it being discussed and played out in front of you. I said Greenberg wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. Oh, yes, he is. Greenberg said he went down there. Okay, Greenberg did say he went down there and got everything, but do Robert have it? Mm-hmm. Which we all know that's a lie, because they said Greenberg didn't even come to look at nothing. I know what lawyers went to go look at stuff, and I know what they got. It's just not my place to put out there who's doing what and who's doing what, especially the way I was done. So now that I was done a certain way, I have to move a certain way. So it's not that, oh no, Dana acting funny. No, it's not that. It's the fact that I got to protect Robert and I got to protect me. People played their hand way too early, and I'm glad they did, because I would have been screwed all up in the game if I didn't play my hand in the way I did. However, the problem now is preparing for trial. And I don't know, some people might have, I know about what's going on and behind the scenes. I know about where things are going and stuff like that, but it's not my place to say anything. Anywho, preparing for trial. If I'm trying to figure out the words to use. If Robert is not able to prepare for trial, right? If they're not, let's just say if he can't properly prepare for trial, what is the likelihood that this trial will be thrown out? Or what's the likelihood that he will be hit with the Bill Cosby Act and be found guilty and then got to come back and have it overturned? And they're not treating his diabetes properly, so think. Yeah. You're right, Sid. Pulmonary embolism. I'm going to look that up because I want to study about that. Hey, Miss Bougie. I know someone who died. I know someone died from it. A classmate had it. Wow. So what is tuberculosis? Is it like a coughing disease? I mean, like, is it airborne? What? I hear people talk about it and I make jokes about it, but I never knew what it was. Greenberg wasn't on Kells' side. He was for the state. I'm glad somebody said that. That means I don't have to say it. That means I don't have to say it. I've never seen Greenberg this active before. Other than when he got to go on TV and do stuff like that. But Greenberg is very active now. Very active. And I think people should let them know how they feel on Twitter. That's what I think. But see, I'm a different character because I take it a whole deeper level. But I'm not going to force nobody to do that. I'm not going to tell nobody to do that. That's just my thoughts. Yeah, what, Dana? How much time will he have to prepare for trial? That's what I'm trying to figure out now. If things can pull off in the way that people are trying to put forth things for him to be pulled off like this, I think with no distractions, Robert can do it. They also stated that Rob had been vaccinated a while back. So are they lying? Why is that man still in quarantine? That part, Sebo. That part. And see, and when you see people come out talking about, oh, the BOP said this and this and this, you can't really listen to them. You got to listen to the inmates. Because the inmates are in there. And the BOP spokesperson just come and give a remark. She or he is not there. But I have a question. In the Bill Cosby case, right? In the Bill Cosby case, because I see a lot of people saying this, and it pissed me off last night. It pissed me off so bad that I went and fixed me a tomahawk steak on a grill because I was so mad at 2 o'clock in the morning. They say Bill Cosby told the prosecutors for his state case in a deposition that it would not be held against him if he talked about it, right? Well, these are the same standards that will happen in the R. Kelly case. An NDA. The same thing Bill Cosby gave these folks. Means it have to be upheld. So you can't prosecute somebody criminally if they had signed an NDA. Now, here's the catch. If you notice, mainstream media will always say R. Kelly had underage girls, right? R. Kelly had underage girls. And see, and this is why I don't say nothing. Because, see, this is how I shake things up. Hold on, Sharon Moore said he can die in his sleep if his sugar gets too high from being a diabetic. I know that for a fact. Oh, whoa. We don't want that to happen. it might not go to trial after Bill lawyer exposed the system. Yeah. Ineffective counsel. Exactly. Oh, and I'm going to tell y'all, ineffective counsel on Twitter is not who you think it is. It's Don Ruffles. That's all you got to do is look at the way he's talking. Very predictable. Alright, but I'm going to say this. But the NDAs, right? Okay, and buy and split them. Okay. But the NDAs are contractual binding materials. So, they always say R. Kelly got these underage girls, right? And see, I was waiting for somebody to bring this out. And the only person that know this is Prima Donna. And we compared notes about it. If R. Kelly had a history of underage girls, right? Would it have been a problem to have an underage girl to promote surviving R. Kelly? Make it make sense. They had to use Azriel because she looked young. That's what caught everybody. But nobody's answered my question. For him to love to be around and for him to court underage girls, as they say, why? The spokesperson and the voice of surviving R. Kelly was a 45-year-old woman that got turned down by R. Kelly. Now here's where we start making sense. Here's where I start breaking the mold on a lot of this stuff. This is why I was loving the conversations between me and Larry, because I would give him facts. He would give me thought and paperwork. I don't need thoughts and paperwork. I need facts and paperwork. Not only was NDAs given, well, they said, well, we can't prosecute Bill because NDAs were given. So how can you prosecute Robert if NDAs were given? Then they said, well, we can't pursue Bill Cosby criminally because we already pursued him civilly. What I tell y'all once before? A lawsuit have to have an injury. Nobody has been injured. And on top of that, remedy has been met. Hold on. Remedy has been met. And the first prosecutor held his word that he will not charge Bill, but the change prosecutor on Bill and the new prosecutor said, screw that, and charge Bill, okay? Ms. Bougie said, like, share, subscribe, hit the like button. There you go. Sid said, it's deeper. Some of Rob's friends turn on him behind his back. I agree, Sid, and I'm about to get to that. Trust me, I'm about to get to that. And then Janet Huberman, dark-skinned Auntie Viv, had the nerve to go at... Hold on. And then Janet Hubert, dark-skinned Auntie Viv, had the nerve to go at Felicia Rashad for sticking up for the cause. Now I see why Alfonso Ribeiro did what he did, and Jeffrey said she talked too much. Facts. Sid, I'm about to jump right into that. So now that a remedy has been met, right? I told y'all. Or if I didn't say it here, I said it on another platform. This New York case, when you really look at it, Roe told us about these remedies. Facts. And Roe coming back real soon, y'all. Me and Roe gonna set it up. He coming back real soon. So, let's go here. If remedies have been met, how can you go forward? But then let's go here. This R. Kelly New York case. If you take your emotions out of it, take a step back and look over the case, what do you see? What do you see? I'm going to tell you. You see a lot of holes in the case, right? Now, I'm no lawyer, but I've had this conversation with several lawyers, several federal lawyers. And we sitting down talking. We comparing notes. Some people say I missed my calling, that I should have been a lawyer. But the question came up, how can you charge R. Kelly for the Mann Act? I laugh. And I just wanted to hear what everybody with degrees had to say. Someone was like, easy, cause it's digital footprints. And everything that you see Oak Cove and other people saying, they were saying, it's digital footprints. Oh, the paperwork say this, the paperwork say that, the paperwork say this. So before I got to say anything, it was this older white man. I don't know if he's a lawyer or not. Hey, what's going on, Atmos? I don't know if he's an older white man or not. Atmos love in the building. But he said, if you're going to charge that black brother, and he said it just like this, if you're going to charge that black brother with the Mann Act, and it's proven that this man does not control his finances, that means a lot of judges, a lot of clerks, a lot of people in high places need to go to jail too. Because a lot of them knowingly flew people to them. This man don't control his finances. So how is he responsible if he don't control his finances? I know some people say, oh, because he gave the order. Let me explain something to you. If you don't control your finances, how much power do you really have? Ye who controls the money controls the empire. Am I right or am I wrong? And it's normally a person that controls the money is normally in cahoots with a female because she controls the paperwork. I'll wait. Can somebody explain to me how Robert's so-called friends can hogtail and talk to the feds about Robert, but they the plain ones that say, I love you. You my dog. I never leave you. I got your back to the end. I had to really, last night, I'm going to say this. Last night, Spitting Fire really put me into perspective about something. And I used to say this a while ago. I used to say, everything that Robert going through, I'm going through on these YouTube streets. But she really put it into perspective for me last night. Everything that Don Russell was doing to Robert, she did to me last night. And I sat back, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I was angry. When I say angry, I was angry. Then when I calmed down, I said, you know what? You're only being shown who they really are. So I believe the good Lord have Robert sitting just to see who people really are. And you have a person that sit up there and say, I'm doing this for Robert. I'm flying banners. I'm collecting money. I'm doing this. I got a separate bank account. But then when stuff gets sticky, they said the fat dude and the flower pot lady is trying to put me in things, and I don't know Robert. I was never around Robert. And when somebody can say that in front of people, How can you follow somebody like that? Or even listen to somebody like that when they are blatantly telling you, one, I'm a liar, and two, I could tell you anything and you'll still be here. As our friends say, y'all have the power. I refuse to argue back with people who don't know nothing. Yes, you can make an assumption, but everything that I've said on these YouTube streets have came to pass. Maybe not in the time frame that I said it, but it happened. One thing for sure, two things for certain. I agree with Kwame Brown. The demasculinity of men has begun. And the one thing I will say is this right here. I'm learning every day, if I can't say nothing positive, not to say nothing at all. And it's killing me because I'm the packing queen. I mean king. I said queen. Lord have mercy. I'm the packing king. I will get on your tail with no problems. But now I'm realizing that just because you can crack on people, it's not a good look all the time. Sometimes you just got to say, all right, whatever. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. I came back into this fight for the second time for Robert. I got off track. Now I'm back on track. And we're going to get this thing going for Robert. Also, I'm going to bring in other stories too. But while everybody's sleeping and trying to do things to hurt other people, something interesting happened today. Is anybody familiar with Van Jones? Is anybody familiar with the writer for Daily News? When I show y'all what was said, if y'all don't get an immediate attitude, I'm going to question y'all. This what was put out today. This what was put out today. Bill Cosby is free. Ghislaine Maxwell should be too. Now, if that don't piss you off, nothing will. If that don't piss you off, nothing will. Because now what they're telling you is Bill Cosby is free. And Bill Cosby took it to his grave. He said, look, I'm going to hold my firm ground. I didn't do anything. Ghislaine Maxwell should be too. So why would they say that a known pedophile should be innocent? Well, she's saying that Jeff Epstein made everybody sign NDAs. And more importantly, she's saying that Jeff Epstein talked to the DA and told her the same thing. Give Ghislaine Maxwell immunity. And they agreed to it. Let's talk about it. Now, R. Kelly is known as a disgraced R&B singer, right? And they always show R. Kelly and like sobbing stuff. So why Ghislaine Maxwell show smiling? And look what they write about her. Socialite. Not disgraced socialite. Not disgrace nothing. It says socialite Ghislaine Maxwell with an unidentified male companion attends the opening of the Asbury flagship store on 5th Avenue, December the 8th, 2003 in New York City. So let's get into it. The state Supreme Court not only acquitted him. Okay, hold on. Let's get down to Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. Okay, let's start here. This opinion and reasoning applies directly to Ghislaine Maxwell's case. In her case, I'm going to start here. In her case, Jeff Epstein pleaded guilty and struck a bargain with the prosecutors in Miami. In exchange for pleading guilty in state court, the U.S. Attorney's Office agreed that it would not prosecute any of his alleged co-conspirators. Any of his alleged co-conspirators. There has been quite a bit of criticism of this deal, but it is a contract that Epstein and the government entered into. A contract that Epstein and the government entered into knowingly and voluntarily, and certainly the government was in the better bargaining position as it is with any criminal defendant. Maxwell is accused of being one of Epstein's co-conspirators from 25 years ago. She has declared her innocence and is set to fight the case at trial in November. But she should not have to fight her case at trial, and her case should be thrown out, just like Cosby's has been. Because prosecutors promised Epstein when he pleaded guilty that they would not prosecute her. When Epstein agreed to plead guilty and go to state prison, the United States agreed not to prosecute him or his alleged co-conspirators. Whoa. This is in black and white. The United States will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein. Despite its promise not to go after Maxwell, federal prosecutors in New York brought a federal case against her after Epstein died, arguing that it does not need to live up to the deal struck by federal prosecutors in Miami. But the reasoning makes no sense. We have one federal government, and the agreement says clearly that the United States would not prosecute Maxwell. And just like in Cosby case, the New York prosecutors want to use Maxwell's deposition against her, even though the government has said there would be no charges. The trial court, just like the trial court and intermediate appellate court in Cosby case, has agreed to let the government out of his deal. The case against Ghislaine Maxwell is extremely weak, based on 25-year-old uncorroborated allegations made only after Epstein died. A jury should reject those flimsy and stale charges. But in the event of a conviction, she should get relief on appeal for the same reason Cosby did. Prosecutors should have to live up to the deals they make. As that court explained, a contrary result would be patently untenable. It would violate long-cherished principles of fundamental fairness. It would be anti-ethical of coercive, of the integrity and functionality of the criminal justice system that we strive to maintain. The Cosby case reaffirms that a prosecutor is bound to act with integrity, and the public must be able to rely on his word. What a concept. So I got a question. And my question is, we want to say that Ghislaine Maxwell need to be free, right? But what about Robert Kelly? See how they skipped over Robert to go to Ghislaine? I'm lost. Where's the safety measures for Robert Sylvester Kelly? Where are they? Where are the safety measures for Robert Sylvester Kelly? Look, it's late. Tomorrow we coming back. I gotta read. I'm gonna be honest with you. Tomorrow I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read the questionnaire. I'm gonna read the updated questionnaire, and I'm gonna give y'all some commentary. I'm gonna bring you the Felicia Rashad social media story. So tomorrow, be ready. It's gonna be a long Friday, and I'm gonna end it out impactful with information. So if you gotta get your pen and paper, let's do it. But we're gonna do that. That's gonna lead up. That's gonna have enough information to lead you through the 4th. If you want to research some stuff, you can research some stuff. But I thank y'all for hanging with me this late. It is late. Eastern Standard Time is real late. But I love each and every last one of y'all. Don't forget, if you want to contribute to this channel, you can hit the Cash App at $official DanaJay. If you want to send me something a little bit, just go ahead and hit the tip jar that's at the top of the live chat. And just hit that link. And just go through it. Alright? I thank everybody. I see y'all tomorrow. Blessings to everybody. Y'all have a good night. Peace.
Say you love it, what you gonna do?